considering the longer gestation, many of them are just around the corner for hitting a very large valuation components and providing, even I would say a very significant exits to this early stage investors. So I think what is missing is a really a bumper success example, one or two, which can break the barrier broadly. And that would be something very, very exciting where either some got a very large exit through the funding round or even IPO. And that will then actually, kind of validate what has been happening for all these years. And I think that is one, I would say, a trigger point that we are hoping that some of CCAM companies hopefully will get in a couple of years.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Speciale Focus, brought to you by Speciale Invest, a leading early-stage deep tech VC firm. I'm Hari Arakli, an independent journalist in Bengaluru and your host. In this episode, I bring you an interview with Dr. Taslimarif Saiyed, Director and CEO of the Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms, or CCAM, in Bengaluru. For over 15 years, Dr. Saiyed has been in the thick of India's efforts to transform advanced biological research into commercial and societal value. From Bengaluru's life sciences cluster, CCAMP has quietly become one of the country's most important engines powering biotech innovation in the country. Founded in 2009, CCAMP has supported some 600 startups so far. Some of the companies from its earliest cohort are on the cusp of delivering globally relevant commercial products in fields ranging from anti-microbial-resistance drug discovery to stem cell therapy and sustainable agriculture. In this conversation, Dr. Saiyed discusses how India's biotech landscape has matured and what still holds it back. He talks about how CCAM bridges the gap between research and entrepreneurship, why access to shared high-end infrastructure matters as much as venture funding, and how artificial intelligence is reshaping the sector. The discussion also reflects on his own path from neuroscience researcher at Max Planck Institute and UCSF to leading an organization that now defines the interface between science, enterprise, and national capability, a microcosm of India's broader deep tech evolution. So, Dr. Taslim, thank you for doing this and making time for me, and welcome to Speciale Focus.
Absolutely a pleasure to join you on this podcast.
All right. Also, from the point of view of keeping in mind a more general audience as well, if you can start us off with just a few minutes of a brief history of how CCAMP was started, why was it started, a little bit of maybe a snapshot history in your own words. We can go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely happy to. So CCAM, that is Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms, was set up in 2009-10 by Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, with the vision of having an organization that broadly, becomes an enabler and a catalyst of deep science research and innovation in the field of life sciences. The idea was to have an organization which actually, plays together with already available government funded institutions as well as industry, and find and build a kind of a interface between government funded academic institutes and the industry for enabling good science, high end science, and also enabling research translation and enable science based innovations. So that has been a mandate that CCAMP was built with way back 2009-10, and last 15 to 16 years we have attempted to build on that vision, the early vision, and create new pathways to achieve the outcomes which were envisaged.
Okay. Can you talk a bit about basing it in Bangalore and around what you all call the Bangalore Life Science Cluster, as it has come to be known now?
Indeed, indeed. So idea was to, at that time, DBT had built a vision of having cluster of organizations working together. So they were keen on building bioclusters across India, and they began at that time with three places where they wanted to build biocluster. One was in Delhi NCR region, which became Delhi and Faridabad biocluster. One was in Mohali, with again few organizations were set up in addition to the existing ones. Same in, of course, Faridabad and NCR and Delhi. And the third one was in Bangalore, where around NCBS, two more organizations were set up. One was CCAM and the other was InSTEM, the Stem Cell Institute. And of course, NCBS, which was set up in early 1990s, uh, already had established itself as a phenomenal organization driving fundamental research in biology across very diverse set of biological questions. An idea was to set up two organizations next to it to make a Bangalore life science cluster. Uh, and so that happened in 2009. And then over years, as we built more things, a few years ago, that is possibly around 17, 18, 19, we added TIGS, which is Tata Institute for Genetics and Society, funded by Tata Trust, as a fourth organization to this cluster that we call as a Bangalore Life Science Cluster. And this provides a fantastic, this remain, of course, a very strong cluster with high intensity of life science research, but also fantastic seamless existence of fundamental research in biology, translation, innovation, and even now connecting it to society. So this is a fantastic diversity of the stages of science, not only the kind of science, but the stages of science, which kind of coexist. And also at a good intensity, we are nearly 2,000 people on campus now, and that more or less, I believe, is a single most, the biggest life science research campus in India. So this is really a great space for all of us, for organizations to be together and leverage each other's complementary strengths that we have, and take our mandates further.
When you started 2009-10, in terms of practical activities, give us a sense of what are some of the things that you tackled immediately at that time. And then further on, we can also get into how CCAMP has grown from there. I mean, now you're a very big sort of institution with international partnerships and so on. But back then, give us a sense of what you immediately kind of jumped into.
Yeah. So I think it's a very good point. I think, Mr. Hari. I think CCAMP has, in a way, has evolved in its, its own vision based on the original mandate on how it wants to achieve the mandate and deliver the mandate rather. So it began in 2009-10 with the 1.0 version, that is, taking high-end technology platforms, which are with CCAMP and campus organizations, and enable researchers across India, be it from academia, industry, startups, and ensure that those become accessible, and the scientists can even get trained on those as we speak. So that was a very important component, which in last 15 years has now resulted nearly in terms of 6,000 projects with more than 600 organizations, more or less all big academic institutes and all big industry and even smaller players have partnered on this particular vertical. And also we have trained more than 2,000 people on it. So this is certainly has been a very impactful vertical, which continues to go further. At the same time, we in 2013 around, we realized that there was an opportunity to uh, support brilliant, innovative ideas which could be supported for its entrepreneurial journey. And in partnership with DBT Biorack, and after that with Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, DST, and SDB, MIghty, Government of Karnataka, and many others, we built capabilities to attract those amazing ideas and support them, to be able to provide them support for the early proof of concept studies, even at the idea level, and then mentor them and handhold them and even support them through the scale up, validation, follow on investments, connecting with the rest of the ecosystem players, as well as globally. That was our 2.0 version of it. And then after that, again, a realization where the opportunity was in front of us, against a small, I would say, a gap that we realized, which was the amazing academic discoveries uh, very seldomly would actually go out and get to industry. So amazing publications, amazing patterns which were built across India, not often enough they would actually go out and build on and get industry attention and industrial licensing, and hence they would stagnate in academic setup. So we built a dedicated research translation accelerator, which kind of takes those academic discoveries, identify the gems, and goes and watches out and talks to industry and understand their eventual interest in them, and take and transform those discoveries, further work on them, and make them industry ready. So we more or less add more de-risking and risk, mitigation on it with further validation. And that is something, a research translation accelerator that we have added over as a 3.0. And so hence now it's a very interesting, I would say, end-to-end capability by enabling research, by enabling research translation, and by enabling science-based innovation. We are able to kind of support the movement of science at different levels, at the early stage, mid stage, and late stage of science overall, and that is allowing us now to fulfill the mandate, and also seeing the outcomes in terms of amazing scientific outcomes, research outcomes, very good translated discoveries into industry technologies, which we are now licensed to both India's top companies as well as global companies now. And also, of course, we have now supported nearly 600 odd uh, innovative companies and some fantastic new products which have come out of it. So that has been different components of CCAM's delivery across its mandate.
Do you recall which was the first startup to come and use CCAM's infrastructure, be mentored by you all and so on?
Yeah, so we had two exposures, and I would like to possibly mention both. The first startup to knock the doors and kind of make us think about things was actually Strand. Strand was doing this fantastic work. I clearly remember in terms of building, I would say, virtual liver capability based on laboratory data, which of course got fantastic work done at CCAM by Strand, and it was further taken up by Syngene, if I'm not wrong. And at the same time, we also funded companies who were brilliant in terms of new ideas, and this included some of the very good companies that possibly in the first round, if not second, like Bugworks that we funded on the first through the DBT BioRack Big program, C6 Energy, and even String Bio. Um, and if I'm not wrong, Achira and Pandora. These were the first few cohorts, that few of the ones in the first or second cohorts we had supported.
What are all the different ways in which CCAM supports startups today?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So I think yes. So broadly, we have supported nearly 600 startups and some of across India. So one of the very important things CCAM has never done is that even in its third vertical, that is entrepreneurship and innovation vertical, we have an incubator, but we never saw incubate. We have only seen incubator as a program and not necessarily as a space, uh, services. So we have now opened up C Camp as a whole across India. where we can fund startups anywhere. We then mentor them, we handhold them, we accelerate them, we help them with further capabilities in terms of validation, field validation, analytical validation, and even further connecting with the appropriate field, I would say, settings like clinical settings or agricultural setting and so on. So this becomes a kind of a complete comprehensive support that we provide to startups. More so, I would say, to this amazing innovative solutions which are being built to address problems in India and so on. And so we have now supported nearly 600 of those. Um, the ones that I mentioned, which were the earlier ones, is something like Bugworks, which is doing wonderful work in terms of developing drug for something which we call it as a broad spectrum for infections which are right now bacterial infections which even right now do not have cure for, because they have developed resistance that much. And that is something they've developed new chemical molecule which addresses this resistant bacteria which are now there globally. And the last broad spectrum antibiotic which was discovered was way back in 1960s. So you can imagine how long it has been that the world hasn't been able to develop a new antibiotic, broad spectrum antibiotic. But Bugworks is very close in, or rather, the most advanced company in the world right now in terms of having a molecule which could be a broad spectrum antibiotic, and they're in the phase 1 trial in Australia. They already have they are seen as one of the most promising group in the world, which can bring this kind of drug in the market. They have raised nearly $50 million, and I think we are keeping our fingers crossed so that their phase 1 data, phase 2 data comes positive. And if this happens, as I say always, there will be a beautiful scientific eureka moment for India to be able to develop something like this from India for the world. That is Bugworks in healthcare. And then there are companies like Panduram, which is doing stem cell based effort for suturable cornea, as well as kind of building mini liver. Again, amazing work. They have done very well. They are now in India. They are in US. Very very exciting work they have done. Then we have company like C6 Energy, a wonderful company which is using seaweed algae, which are grown on the ocean surface, and then harvest from there and use the hydrocarbon properties to be able to utilize that for in terms of what you would call it as for downstream products for agriculture and even other biosustainable products. They are now in the market with multiple products in almost 26 to 28 countries. So they are very, very, I would say, successful. And now they're in the process of even taking it far to the level where they could actually do algae-based biofuel, which they're hoping that in a few years they will be able to achieve an affordable process for doing the same. So it's very exciting work. And then there is String Bio, which is using addressing the issue of global warming, um, where we are right now affected by higher concentrations of greenhouse gases like methane, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and how I would say they are able to use microorganisms using synthetic biology, which can capture methane, which comes out from refineries and dairy, and convert into downstream products. Again, they are one of the most advanced company in the world in for this bio capture capability, carbon capture capabilities using biological concept. And of course, you mentioned about company like iStem, which is using cell therapy for addressing, disease indications. To begin with, they are in the vision disorder like dry. age-related macular degeneration. Again, a disease that impacts nearly 180 to 200 million people. So that's a large number where with age, people get such condition like that, and eventually some of them lose complete sight. They have now developed capability to, build cell therapy, deriving from the stem cells, where they can actually do, implant of RPE cells, that is retinal pigment epithelial cells, through subretinal injections. And they have now demonstrated that one could actually have a rescue of the vision loss. And they are one of the best, rather the best data in class that they have, even compared to the global best companies. Of course, companies like Achira has done phenomenally well in diagnostics. Now, Cipla has even taken equity in those, and they have done really, really fantastic. So, those are earlier most companies, and then we have many more companies who have come and attempted to add more on that.
And that last point is really pertinent, isn't it? I mean, all these startups in your first or second early cohorts, they have now reached a point, or over the last 2, 3 years, they've all reached a stage where not only have they been supported by government backed organizations, but also some mainstream VCs and other corporate strategic investors have also taken note and, in fact, invested in these companies. Can you talk about that a bit?
Indeed, indeed. I think that's what, so as I mentioned, I think all of them are now, if I were to say, more than 20 million or 25 million or nearly 50 million funded. And that is already a very good number for Indian biotech scenario, starting from Bugworks, as I mentioned, nearly 50 million, to C6 Energy, to String Bio, to iStem, to Pandorum, and even the investment in Achira from Cipla clearly indicates that, I think these amazing ideas had, uh, you know, could grow to, present an opportunity for investors to come and participate, despite Indian biotech system, or the ecosystem at not still at its peak, where still venture capital firms are still, slowly coming in terms of investments. Despite that, these companies have really made uh, very good opportunities for investors to come and participate in their investment round. So that's, and I do hope, considering life science companies and life science products have a long gestation, that many of them are at the inflection stage, and some of them will be able to even raise more as they go forward.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, while I said mainstream VCs, I guess I should add the caveat that they're mainstream in the sense that they are some of the VC firms which are much more involved in deep tech in India and more aware of what is happening here and so on. Not necessarily the very large, well-known global ones, which are still probably not that much into biotech. Certainly in India, maybe in some of the other areas. Um, and so, can you talk about that aspect? What do you think will bring the big names to these companies? Currently, what is missing or what is work in progress? Which, if it changes in a positive direction, sort of the next phase of growth money can come to these companies. Typically in this area, 100 million, $150 million of funding is not uncommon at all, and that kind of money is also required, and maybe even more when they get into advanced phases of clinical trials and so on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say that I think what has happened, what has been positive is that last, almost 14, 13, 14, 15 years, around 2012, 13 onwards, there has been a fantastic, surge in terms of new ideas in biotech space which are coming. And the ones that I told you were the 2012, 13 kind of first cohorts. And I think those have really shown to the mainstream VCs their ability, that there are very good, scientific ideas coming from India and which can be globally competitive as well. And they have been able to raise money both locally and internationally. Of course, it hasn't become a kind of a national craze in terms of biotech investments as much as it is other sectors. Is being that what is missing is that considering the longer gestation, many of them are just around the corner for hitting a very large valuation components and providing, even I would say a very significant exits to this early stage investors. So I think what is missing is a really a bumper success example, one or two, which can break the barrier broadly. And that would be something very, very exciting where either some got a very large exit through the funding round or even IPO. And that will then actually, kind of validate what has been happening for all these years. And I think that is one, I would say, a trigger point that we are hoping that some of CCAM companies hopefully will get in a couple of years. At the same time, indeed, I think the ecosystem would have an investment component, which government is also trying to come in and support. And some of the very exciting initiatives are coming in deep tech. So that's very good. Also, I think we need a high-end infrastructure available as a national setup so that these companies don't need to build assets during the scale-up years because that's really a loss of their time and funding and investments at that end. So that will do it. And of course, I think then the readiness from a regulatory perspective to accept this new ideas, new concepts coming from India, and kind of facilitate their regulatory processes, and so on. So those are all kind of warming up. I see that this is now a very good milieu that has happened, and I really hope that one or two events will just kind of unlock the surge and craze that could happen in the space in terms of very big investments in the biotech space.
Mm. Can you delve into that warming up, factor a little bit more? I mean, through my earlier conversations with you and others that I'd been fortunate to talk to, I know that you all have mentioned, common infrastructure that can be used by large number of startups for the most high end testing and things like that, or in the biotech and drug discovery place, in that area, things like your best manufacturing practices which require very clean environments and so on. um, Possibly today companies still have to go to Europe or US or so on to get some of these tests done. And any examples come to your mind where some of these facilities will start coming up in India?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think to take the last point, I think government is really trying to, build those things, those high-end facilities where it could be run largely to facilitate and enable such startups, innovators, so they don't have to go to the global, you know, companies and service providers, which are fairly, very, very expensive. And even some companies in India providing such services provide at global rates. So I think if you follow the Bio E3 scheme by Department of Biotechnology, Government of India is actually in the process of almost starting a few such high-end facilities and biofoundries. There was a recently launch about it. This is a gigantic effort by the DPT, and I think kudos to people behind it, including Secretary Dr. Gokhale and the minister who has backed him phenomenally on this. I think because this is actually the vision which will serve for many many years and decades to come in terms of uh, to innovators who are building new products and assets, but were I think struggling in absence of having such facilities. So hopefully this will address some component of it. Similarly, DST is right now coming up with high-end facilities in different sectors, including in biotech. So I think that will complement the efforts overall. And then there are funds being planned as well, like upcoming funds in ANRF, the IDI fund, the PREP scheme from Department of Pharma, which is again a very, very I would say, timely scheme, which is going to possibly put injection of funds into the setup. So, very exciting times, both from funding perspective, infrastructure perspective, and we do hope that we can continuously attract new talent to, leverage these movements which are happening in India, and kind of ride the wave and build some really impactful solutions from here.
Mm. And adjacent to this, and also in a way related, the CCAMP is sort of playing a very, it's a commendable role in expanding the ecosystem for everyone in this field. And um, there are some recent examples that come to my mind. In fact, just a couple of days back, I read your press release about a partnership with Bayer to help agri-tech startups. Um, can you talk about these kinds of partnerships and maybe just give us a quick update of noteworthy partnerships that CCAMP is pursuing, and sort of the thinking behind them and so on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as we have been building innovations, we have been figuring out what are the different components where we can come bring together to this, platform CCAM as a, if you see CCAM as a ecosystem platform, how we can bring more and more people on this platform. So there is a kind of a, I would say, a phenomenal crosstalk and connections and enablement that actually happens through that. So as we already had a very strong connections with academia, of course, startups came in. We had a lot of work with industry, but now it's much more targeted engagements with industry. Like by, as you mentioned, we have collaborations with them. We have collaboration with similarly with Siemens and many other companies where we are in a way working to see how their innovation interest can also be coming from some of the innovations that we are building. So there is a kind of a downstream integration, as one would call it. We are trying to build and also understand the requirements so we can actually somehow navigate innovations to that, because that's the partnerships that we want. The biotechs and large companies, be it in healthcare, be it in agriculture or environment, we need those partnerships so the scientific movement actually keep moving to the next level. Similarly, we have built partnerships with VC companies, so venture capital firms, both in India and now outside. That allows, again, sort of our opportunity to align some of our innovators to them, uh, and also help them with the funding process. We have now one of the industry partnership that we have had, or rather the VC partnership we have, it is Beyond Next Ventures from Japan, or DG Health from San Francisco Bay Area, or a couple of other guys even from Tokyo and otherwise. So that has been in the VC part of it. In India, we are collaborating with many VCs. Almost all VCs we have been able to collaborate. So that is bringing stakeholders on this platform, and enabling those crosstalk and connections and partnerships broadly.
Mm. Can you talk a bit more about how the VC partnerships would help? I mean, do they get early access to sort of a pipeline of uh, seed or pre-seed level startups at CCAMP? How does that work?
Yes, indeed. Idea to work with VCs is actually twofold. One is for them to provide a kind of a highly intense and kind of milieu of this innovative companies at one place. So they don't need to really go across. So they can land at C Camp and look at variety of companies across our 600 companies that they are looking at, get our inputs on it, and most importantly, we also sometimes play a kind of a their knowledge partner to demystify scientific aspects of it, the risk associated with it, the opportunities associated with that. And they actually uh, do appreciate that angle, because we have been in deep touch with these startups. We understand them very well, where their strengths are, where possibly they could improve further. So this early insights and knowledge collaboration with them is very good for the VCs, and that confidence with VCs allow us to then bring our startups in the fold and present to them, which would eventually help startups as well to get through good funding rounds.
And CCAMP itself also offers some early equity money. Is that correct? I mean, taking up to about 10% equity stake, or correct me if I'm wrong.
You are right. No, so we have several programs that I mentioned with both government agencies and now with philanthropies as well. We do provide grant and equity support, and based on the scheme, we either do grant or equity largely as a minor partner. This is mostly to ensure that we play as a risk funder as much in the early stage, and enable startups and provide support so that they are then strong enough to be able to be presented to what you would call it, to investors and global funders. So yes, those programs allow us to, uh, build, I would say, startups to the level that investors can start looking at them, at the mid stage level.
Hmm. And is there a plan to perhaps have a CCAMP ventures of some kind, especially if you're thinking along the lines of helping companies beyond the Series A level, which is where things start getting difficult in terms of raising some bigger sums of money, or would you see something like that as a bit of a distraction from your core mandate?
Yeah, exactly. So I think more or less there have been multiple suggestions for CCAM to formally look at that with very senior people. We have contemplated, and we have not yet taken it on. We see uh, the importance of it, so that if we, with having good understanding of the field now, having supported 600, there's institutional knowledge in terms of what kind of founders, what kind of solutions, what kind of ideas which actually can do it, and then capability to make them successful and or add to their successful journey. There have been attempts to say, why don't you actually be even a risk funder beyond what you're doing? We haven't taken it up, but it remains an opportunity that we don't want to close for now. But possibly there are time, we will keep it at the right time. There's always a dialogue going on with some opportunities, but we haven't logged in for that yet. But definitely something in future.
Overall, if you look at the state of the biotech and life sciences ecosystem in India, in the context of the lab to market journey, today, what are the top challenges for the startups that have been supported by CCAMP?
Yeah, I think in a way, overall, I think while they have done well, their progress has not been as, I would say, speedy as if they were to be in other geographies, including in US. And the reason being that I think the way the breakthrough ideas and risk are funded in either Boston area or even at near New Jersey or in the San Francisco Bay Area or even some places in Cambridge and otherwise, I think we are not there in terms of backing breakthrough very risky ideas, and now and hence that makes the journey a bit comparatively slower than what would have been otherwise. So the risk capital is important, and hence CCAM was always thinking that can we raise those funds and help them out. So that is one, because of our understanding of I would say the likelihood of some of those ideas to be and successful and back them even further. um, Again, the second point that we mentioned has been infrastructure play. We discussed it significantly. I think that having access to such high-end infrastructure at the national level is critical, so that they don't end up, spend very significant time in building it, maintaining it, spending money on it, and so on. So that is second. The third is, of course, uh, I would say, the regulatory collaborations that we need to build, where more and more such breakthrough ideas are, facilitated and absorbed, uh, even with high, really, really good speed. Uh, we have improved significantly in regulatory processes over the last few years, and I'm sure uh, it will go even further. And last but not the least, also in a way, closer collaborations with this biotech startups and industry, so that there is a kind of a much deeper engagements of these companies. These are broad components which we are, kind of are have been rate limiting factors, but are being addressed. But I think it will take time for the ecosystem to go to a level where it actually zooms through all of these components.
Mm. Any one example that comes to your mind, sir, when you say in terms of regulatory processes, we've taken some big strides. Anything noteworthy to highlight for our audience?
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of last couple of years or even more, we have clearly seen many new ideas, which are new concepts, including stem cell therapy, including drug delivery system, or even the devices. We see that there has been much better turnaround time. The approvals are there, and many a times I think I would say that during the COVID times, the speed that actually was get built for the clearances, I think that speed has impacted overall turnaround times even after that. And of course, their absorption of new innovations and new indigenous solutions which are being built is much higher than before. These are positive signs, without a doubt. Could that be? Could we together, all of us, do better? That's absolutely also possible that we could, figure out more sectoral, expertise for us to, allow those sectoral applications to, build faster through the regulatory processes. But overall, there has been significant improvement.
Mm. Okay, this conversation won't be complete without asking you about AI. And I know that already many digital health innovations have come out of the CCAMP ecosystem. Um, can you give us a sense of how you all are looking at marrying AI and life sciences research and any early innovations that may already be coming out?
No, absolutely. I think very much so. I think AI is completely into most aspects of research work and innovations which are happening. For example, we are nearly having more than 100 companies which are doing digitally enabled innovations already in biotech space. So that's quite large number. We one of our company, Peptris, put out India's first AI based drug discovered molecule for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is supported by Special Invest for as you would call it, for licensing already. We have many more companies like Immunity AI, Seke Bio, and many more who are actually building new capabilities and already at the series A level of funding. So therapeutics itself, we have at least 8 to 10 companies in AI based drug discovery today. Since afternoon, I actually have had two meetings with two new companies which are interested in coming to CCAM. Both are AI based drug discovery companies. So that's a very important thing. More, and equally more exciting and possibly a little bit more impactful has been in diagnostics and screening, where we have nearly 80 companies where AI is being used to do early stage screening using very novel tools which can produce a lot of data, and pattern recognition leads to early stage of likelihood of some disease indication for maternal neonatal child health, and many other things. Uh, including and you and cardiovascular disease, kidney health. Many things are being done in terms of early stage screening, and similarly for diagnostics. as well for in terms of digital pathology, imaging, you call it, many other things. So AI is complete phenomenally getting integrated into the biotech innovation space, and CCAM is attracting novel ideas, not just use of it, but some breakthrough uses of AI to be able to do that. So, as always, we look forward to some of those exciting new concepts in AI impacting biotech innovations.
Mm. In areas like clinical trials, one of the biggest challenges for companies like Bugworks, for example, is that it takes a lot of money when you start getting into phase two, phase three trials, hundreds of millions of dollars. Um, I mean, you're a scientist yourself. Can you give us a sense of today what is the state of the art in terms of using AI and things like computer simulation, digital twins, and whatnot? Is it already playing a role in terms of reducing the both time to market as well as the cost of clinical trials and so on?
So yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest differences, which has already been fairly evident, has been the early stage discovery of new molecules. I think that has been fantastic, where based on the simulation and the data and the structural components and many other things, including its biosafety, bioavailability, and many other things, which were predictions broadly. I think all those across thousands and thousands and thousands of molecules, one can actually predict it fairly well and bring out molecules with fairly accurate, understanding of it, which was previously uh, a very hard task. Starting from medicinal chemistry, then you do a lot of validation of that and go through the entire pipe. So you would save possibly a couple of years as well as significant investment in the early stage of drug discovery. But as you go forward, even its prediction in the clinical phase trials and so on, based on the data that is available, how will it react? Because a lot of data is available, a lot of patterns are available. People are able to kind of uh, predict the responses in different cohorts, different groups of people, and appropriately align the clinical trials for right kind of patients where the impact will be most, I would say, align and the outcome as envisaged. So I think that definitely is able to save the drug discovery companies right now, clearly with significant evidence in the early stage drug discovery, but much more coming in the clinical trials as well.
Okay. I want to switch gears so that I can also capture a little bit of your own personal journey. I would like to give our audience at least a snapshot of what has been an exemplary career so far, and we know that you will do bigger and greater things, no doubt. Um, can you tell us how you came to be the head of CCAMP? You've been there right from the beginning. Tell us a bit about your academic work as well before that, and how you came to be heading CCAMP.
Yeah. So, I've been trained as a neuroscientist. I did my doctorate in molecular neuroscience in from Max Planck Institute for Brain Research, where uh, my work and was largely to understand how neurons talk to each other, and then I followed up that work with in San Francisco at University of California, San Francisco UCSF, which is a brilliant medical school where I got to do further research in terms of neurotransmission, leading to understanding of how neurodegeneration happens, especially in Parkinson's disease. And while I was there, I got exposed to this fantastic world of biotech innovations. As you know, Genentech, the world's largest biotech, came out of UCSF. So there was a brilliant environment for scientists to see how science and scientific ideas and breakthrough ideas can be taken forward. And as I was looking to come back to India, I got this fantastic opportunity to come in the pre-inception stage and help set up C Camp along with some fantastic people like Professor K. Vijayaraghavan, Professor Mayer, Dr. Ramaswamy, Professor Ramaswamy, Dr. Sheikh Masurinan, and also phenomenal support by Dr. M. K. Ban, followed by Dr. Swaroop and even today, Dr. Gokhale. So I think that has been a fantastic journey of brilliant people backing a very new, novel idea and concept of C Camp, and our belief that this is a brilliant concept with a great opportunity that we can tap into to contribute back in the field of science and play a small role in building solutions that can impact society, be it healthcare, agriculture, and even environment. And now with this 100 solutions which are in the field, some of them saving lives, some of them improving farmers' uh, overall crop production, some of them uh, addressing climate change. It's a great I would say gratification for with scientific understanding that I have to actually contribute there. So with all my colleagues at CCAMP, we are very, very excited and build more as we go forward, and do more, of course, for India and beyond.
Mm. And I guess looking back, one can understand that you're justifiably happy about all the achievements at C Camp, where you played a very central role. But back then, what was the thought process in your head, and why did you decide to come back to India? I mean, especially in a field like neuroscience and so on, uh, you probably could have pursued whatever you wanted in the advanced economies, where everything from access to the cutting edge research as well as the enabling business ecosystem was much more advanced. What got you thinking about coming back to India back then?
Yeah, no, yeah, an interesting question. So after my time in Europe and US, I think I felt strongly, and of course, for personal reasons, I was interested to come back to India. Of course, a good opportunity was important to look at that. At the same time, coming from neuroscience background and exposures in San Francisco Bay Area, I got more and more interested in translation of early stage science. And while I had an offer in academic space, I had an offer in the biotech management space. I was looking at still a very kind of a uh, you know good touch with science, research, translation, and innovation space. And it was serendipity that my interest of that space and in India heavily aligned with the idea of CCAM, which was being built. And I think, of course, there was a leap of faith, but uh, you know, I think that leap of faith was required. But I think I would say a great support by at that time the host organization which hosted CCAMP and CBS. Great support from the organization and the leadership to be able to provide this environment for CCAMP to flourish over time, and that has been fantastic. And I would say um, uh, uh, feel great that something like this is there, and now the challenge is to make it at even next scale and much more, many more breakthrough ideas that we can bring to the field for societal good.
Okay, fair enough. Let's end by bringing it back to CCAMP, and your vision for it. And I know that the idea of a vision is not static. That said, over the next 5 years, 10 years is probably a longer horizon. If you think about India's, bio uh, biotech-led economy, if I can put it that way, uh, what do you see in the most optimistic scenario? What role would you like CCAMP to play in that?
I think CCAM, as I think India is definitely going to be a significant player in the global biotech space and economy, and I'm sure with more investment in science and early stage science, we can even be play that even larger role. CCAMP, we would love to be, a place which continues to provide supports to those breakthrough ideas, breakthrough new solutions, and also at the same time, address some of the challenges which are particular to India in across healthcare, agriculture. Like we have strong dedicated efforts in form of COEs across AMR, in diagnostics, in agriculture, in digital health, and even in climate. So I think at two levels, we want to continue to make difference, support breakthrough ideas which can take the innovation quotient of India to the next level, and support ideas and enable them to make a difference in the society. I think so. We are more or less enabling deep science research and innovation for societal impact, and that is something we are very, very, I would say, strongly aligned with. And we would love to do more in this space and make India the role model in terms of an economy which is not yet developed economy, but an economy which can be a kind of a engine for innovations which can actually solve problems for India and beyond.
That's it for today. You can find links to CCAMP's website and Dr. Taslim's bio in the show notes. If you're an aspiring biotech or life sciences founder in India, do look them up. We'll be back with another episode of Speciale Focus. Until then, it's goodbye from me, Hari Arakli. Thank you for joining us.